Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all the honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Hakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Well, peace and salutations to the elect scattered abroad. Alright, this is Brother Barbazal here with a lesson. The Lord willing is edifying. So today I wanted to get into a little bit into this article, right? We can get some precepts through the Spirit, right? So it's going into the title, the headline, right? Trump says he wants to imprison U.S. citizens in El Salvador. That's likely illegal, right? We could read the caption of this picture. President Donald Trump has reiterated that he'd like to send U.S. citizens who commit violent crimes to prison in El Salvador, telling that country's president that he has to build 5 more places to hold the potential new arrivals. You see? So this is the type of, this is the type of great wrath that, this man is coming with, right? And, because, you'll have people in an uproar saying, oh, this unconstitutional, things of that nature. But, this man never went by his laws or his constitution, okay? Any time, he can take away your rights, right? People say, you got privileges. You really got privileges in this country instead of rights. All right, because whenever this man see fit, he feel justified, he can take them away. All right, and us coming into the end times, we know that these things are gonna keep on riling up. Right, you got the people at an uproar too. Right, you had those those protests going on. I believe it was when like last week, right? No, last week, or actually probably 2 weeks ago, about a week or two ago. All right, on Saturday, all right, you had like I guess a nationwide protest going against Trump and Elon. Okay, so this is the type of times that we in, and this is this is the man that everybody thought would make America great again. The man that that people thought would heal Babylon. Which of course. We're seeing that's not going to happen. That's not the case. A lot of these people, they regret they vote, which it don't matter who they vote for. This place is going to be through. All right, Trump is just the best, candidate, to accelerate, the destruction of this place. Says President Donald Trump on Monday reiterated that he liked to send U.S. citizens who commit violent crimes to prison in El Salvador, telling that country's president Nayib Bukele that he'd have to build 5 more places to hold the potential new arrivals. Trump's administration has already deported immigrants to El Salvador's notorious mega prison, CECOT, C-E-C-O-T, known for its harsh conditions. The president has also said his administration is trying to find legal ways to ship U.S. citizens there too, you see? Trying to find legal, quote-unquote legal, because it's not a legal way to do that, okay? Somebody that's a U.S. citizen, all right? They'll probably pass a new law, Esau's good with that, Trump on Monday insisted that these would just be violent people, implying that they would be those already convicted of crimes in the U.S., though he's also floated it as a punishment for those who attack Tesla dealerships to protest his administration and his patron, billionaire Elon Musk. You see? It would likely be a violation of the U.S. Constitution for his administration to send any native-born citizens forcibly into an overseas prison. Indeed, it would likely even violate a provision of a law Trump himself signed during his first term. You see? So, this man is coming with that great wrath, man. He's looking to send anybody, who comes against him, right, comes against this system. It's not just about people who do crimes, no. All right? Anybody who's against, the agenda, his agenda, right? It says those who attack dealerships to protest administration and his patron, yeah. Right now it's just going into violence, but what Esau does, he gradually escalates things, right? The same thing is going to happen with, us on the highways and hedges preaching the downfall of this kingdom. He's going to look to persecute us, right? Put us in jail, put us in prison, okay? And we seeing that this is what's about to happen. All right. So that's pretty much all I'm gonna read on the article. Brothers can find the article, themselves, right? Appnews.com. Okay. Isaiah 19:1, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. They shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Yeah. And which, these, of course, the modern day Egyptian is the American. Okay. People put they, trust in Egypt, right? And, they're starting to see that, putting their trust in this, that they can't put their trust in this place. All right. Because every time they do, Esau comes and, lets the people down, man. So the people is going to continue to be in the uproar. All right. The people are against each other. All right. You had the whole, Trump versus Harris thing, right? Now you got people against Elon. Now you got people against Trump. All right. You got those that's, you still got people who sided with Trump. Okay. You got the race wars, right? Things like this going on. So the Egyptians against Egyptians. And the spirits of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. So these people are going to cling to, idols, right? The Christian church. It could be Islam, Roman Catholicism, people who still have trust in this system, trust in Elon, trust in Tesla, trust in Trump, okay? But it's all going to fail. All right, because if you don't have the the faith of Yahweh by Simeon-Affliction, it's nothing else to trust. You're supposed to put your trust in the Lord, right? Let's get that. There we go. This is Psalms 118:9. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes. All right, and that's what we have trust in. All right, because we know, once you know the true nature of Esau, Edom, right? You understand that you can't trust this man whatsoever. And he's good at manipulating the people. Having them words smooth as butter, right? Just them words like oil. Okay, being able to through his witchcraft and things of that nature, right? To be able to sway the people into his thinking, and entice the people into putting their trust in him. Okay, but the elect is gonna see through all that and have trust in the Lord. Okay. Sirach 12:10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Okay? Yeah, so we can't trust Esau. All right? And this man has been getting more and more wicked, all right, more and more bolder, against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, all right, against the men of the Lord, all right, with, spreading his wickedness. Okay? So this is the book of Revelation 12:12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. All right, and we at the end. Okay, and hey, Esau know he don't have forever, right? To push establish the NWO, all right, and everything is going to speed up, especially ever since, the C-19, C-19 situation, all right. Time has been, speeding up, man, fast, quick. The Lord has been putting them, the Lord has been, putting out them prophecies, right? Prophecy has been booming, okay? And we get into the climax, all right? This is the book of 1 Thessalonians 5:1. But at the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. All right? And, hey, because when Jacob's trouble happens, it's going to happen suddenly. All right? When all hell breaks loose, when it's fully chaos around here, man, people getting put in, the FEMA camps, pestilence, all right, famine, all right, women being ravished, okay? You got you're going to have the UN troops coming, Esau coming to lock people up, put people in prison, all right, the MOTB, all right, that's all going to happen back to back to back to back, man, quickly, all right, sudden destruction. For ye brethren are not in darkness that day should overtake you as a thief. Yeah, because we have the faith of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. The scriptures go into Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times. Okay? So we're going to have, that stability, that covering from the Lord. All right? We have the faith, The people, the people who have faith in this country, right? Faith in, whatever false idols they worship, they're not going to have that covering. They're going to be destroyed. They're going to get the judgment. All right? Whatever comes to them, whether it's, through the famine, all right, through the sword, all right, through the missiles, okay? These people are going to get judged. All right? Going into, the Israelites, because the heathen, they'll be judged regardless. Okay? It says, 5 verse 5, ye are the children of light and the children of day, who are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. We watching all this happen. While these people are caught up in, the distractions of the world, all right, worried about other things, trying to get to the bag, trying to, whatever the case may be. All right, we watching for the prophecies, we watching for the signs of the Lord's coming. Okay, and we can see where we at through prophecy. Trump being, modern day Nero. All right, we seeing that the Lord is going to use him, to push, to further push the NWO. Okay. Verse 8, it says, but let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and of love, and for an helmet the hope of salvation. For Yahweh hath not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, who died for us, that whether wake or sleep we should live together with him. You see? So you got to have that faith in Yahweh Shai. All right? Acknowledge his sacrifice. Okay? Because during that time, we're going to, live by our faith. Right? So that's why, we got to take advantage of this grace period that we have and, do what we can to be in good graces with Yahweh Bashim Shai, man, because, hey, the Lord is coming and he's coming with that, he's coming with his own great wrath, against, the unbelievers, right, the sinners, the heathen, okay? So it's important, to take this serious, to take this warning, this message serious, all right, because, when the Lord come and, all hell break loose, the doors of repentance going to be closed, okay? It's going to be too late, all right? But with that, that's the lesson. So with that, I'd like to give all the honor, the praise, and glory unto our